Trump was once again confronted on, you know what I'm going to say, Epstein. And it didn't go well. And I do want to play that for you. But I think there's a little bit of important context before, just to kind of get you ready for this. Because some people see this as even if we only analyze the PR of it, they could not have done more wrong. Everything about how they've handled the announcement that case closed, nothing more, shut up, has been handled terribly. And if what they're saying is true, then how they rolled it out is a nightmare, which makes people think it's not true, obviously. But not everyone has that take. MAGA pastor Shane Vaughn saw all of this, saw the appearance of a cover-up related to one of the most notorious child sex traffickers. And at the center of it is the president, who himself is civilly liable for sexual abuse and against an adult, but still, and was buddies with the guy at issue. And do you know what Shane Vaughn? Yes. What his takeaway was? I think Trump might be Jesus. You think I'm kidding? Is this the second coming? Here's Shane. I met him, by the way. You remember that? Were you there? I don't think y'all were there. This was before y'all's time. Wow. Chloe and I actually went down to Trump's arrest and saw him and chatted with him. And it was a good conversation.
The only thing that's coming today is the crucifixion of Donald Trump.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Not by the Romans. Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was not killed by the Romans.
He's going to say it.
Oh, yes, they drove the nails. But it was the Jews that delivered him to them. And one can't help but wonder if history is not repeating itself and we are not delivering Donald Trump to the crucifixion of his enemies.
Some people see this as justice not being served against predators, but I see this as the Holy Spirit working through Donald. This Friday, Jesus returns. You thought that he would be a humble servant, but instead, he's a former billionaire playboy, cheater on his wife, sexual abuser in a civil trial, notorious liar, orange makeup, covering up of the Epstein files this Friday. All right, so that's just something I think you should keep in mind. In case you're mad at Trump, maybe Shane convinced you there that he could be Jesus. This could be his crucifixion, which, by the way, so offensive. That's insane. Jesus? I'm sorry. That's crazy. I think about that a lot. They must have a really low opinion of Jesus. The way they compare Trump to him constantly. You're saying that this is like Jesus's crucifixion. Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus of the wise men. Jesus of Mary. Jesus of God's son, but also God. He is like Trump in your mind. That's offensive to Jesus, is my stance. And I do not do slander of Jesus on this show. Shane Vaughn. The way he speaks is so overly dramatic. Okay, so here Trump screaming and shouting over. I don't know why they do these pressers outside next to Marine One. We could just do it slightly inside, but he has to shout the whole time. So then he's shouting about how in the Epstein files, Biden and Hillary are the ones who crafted the Epstein files, even though that doesn't make any sense timeline-wise.
On Epstein, the Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On
the DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that.
Just since you're now in the running to be Jesus 2.0, what was this again?
They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans?
You know, you at least have to admire the consistency, aside from all the inconsistency, but meaning I have people in my life who have like really strange obsessions. Like they only eat meat, right? It's like, surely, no, because our ancestors, they only ate cow testicles, and that's how I'm going to be. I can only be my healthiest self if I go back 5,000 years before many health developments. Okay. And it's sort of, I'm worried, is your heart going to be okay? But I admire that you're so hardcore about it, kind of. You always go back to, my ancestors. Or what did Steve Jobs only eat? Fruit? It's like, that definitely wasn't good for him, but at least he was dedicated to it. And Trump is making no sense, but at least he's dedicated to everything can connect back to Russia. It is insane. Like, if we were doing a bingo card, what do we think Trump's going to say in response to the Epstein stuff? I would feel even silly going, he's going to connect it back to Russia. The Russia hoax and Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. 51 intelligence agents. There's something stunning about his ability to bring everything back to his same diminished talking points. In all seriousness, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? In his head, what does he think he's saying?
I don't even know.
That when Epstein died when Trump was president, something. No, I don't know. That part gets omitted. And then the years after, Biden was slipping different things into the files that would make Trump look bad. But then here's what I didn't even bring up to you, but now I feel so silly for not bringing it up. If that's the theory, why wouldn't they have released anything on it? Like, if Biden was fabricating stuff for the purposes of hurting you, one thing I've said to be, not blinded by partisanship and trying to follow facts here is that it is actually a strong argument from them to say, if there was a huge bombshell present in these files and these documents, why wouldn't the Biden DOJ have made it public in some way and it would have hurt Trump? Some people say, well, it's because investigation was ongoing and they weren't going to play politics with it. Or some people say that, I don't know what else people say. But no, there was another justification. So the Biden issue, there was a and because it was maybe already removed when Trump was president. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But I do find that to be somewhat compelling. But by his theory, if they were adding things in there to make it phony, like a hoax, then why would they, as a part of their master plan, wait until Trump becomes president so he has to release it? I guess actually that was the second point I was thinking of. Some people say the reason is because they knew if they released it, it would be brushed off by MAGA as just another Biden hoax. But what a weird strategy to plant fake things, but then never make it public until Trump gets in power and then just hope that he makes it public. As we continue through this, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show and make sure that you get yourself some pep. Started this company with my brothers. Been working on it for like a year and a half now, and it finally came to fruition, and it sought to address the problem that we loved energy drinks. We wanted that energy boost, but we knew it was so harmful to our body. This does quite the opposite of that. drinkpep.com. Here is Trump getting asked about Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law, also calling for the release.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important.
I would like to see, once you see what's in the files, you'll understand how well Pam's handling them. Oh, so we could see them? No. But I want to see them. And when I see them, you'll see what I see. Okay.
And you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
How many more seats?
That's infuriating too, especially his base who hate Pam Bondi a lot right now. People don't really know where Dan Bongino is, his deputy director of the FBI. We think he went back into the office, but Trump said he still likes Dan Bongino despite Dan threatening to resign over Pam Bondi's handling of this.
Anything on Gaza, Mr. President. Anything on Gaza.
I like Dan Bongino still, despite the fact that reportedly Trump aides forced to text CNN. Has Dan Bongino come into work? Now you're thinking, oh, CNN texted Trump administration officials. No, Trump administration officials texted CNN saying, do you know if Dan's in the office today? Do you have any sources? We can't find him. We can't find him. We looked at the shooting range. We looked at the local Brewskis with the Boys bar. We looked at the local butchery. We couldn't find him anywhere. It usually works the other way around, but the Epstein situation has cause for the aides to be reaching out to CNN for clarity over what on earth is going on in their own administration. That's crazy for them to be reaching out to the organization they call the enemy to try to get the whereabouts of Dan Bongino. No lie with that. Brian Tyler Cohen said Republicans just unanimously voted to block the release of the Epstein files. Oh, goodness. Pam Bondi got asked about this. It's just not going away.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do that?
Our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you.
And how would you respond to the MAGA base that has expressed a lot of frustration about this?
We're going to fight to keep America safe again, and we're fighting together as a team. That's what's so important right now. You know, we've got a war on drugs. We've got a war on human trafficking. We've got cartels in this country, and we are going to do. We've got foreign adversaries around this world as well, and we're all going to work together as a team to fight to keep America safe again. And I can tell you that's what we're all committed to.
Okay. So, I mean, kind of an expected response there. I don't know what it is we talked about in the other segment, but the obsession with this daddy talk and Trump. Look at this Fox host.
Is up to her. There was a real dust up between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. The president, daddy, as Mark Rutte has dubbed him, stepped in and ended that feud the other day with a lengthy post on Truth Social. So we'll see where it all goes.
I've been calling him Ruddy. Is it Rutte? Now that I think of it, Mark Ruddy, it does sound worse than Rutte. Sorry. That probably sounds like I was trying to be mean. Ruddy. Oh, that sounds so American. Who's this European soy boy? Mark Rutte? So he's saying that quote unquote daddy had to come in to get his administration under control. Well, first of all, that's called being president. I don't know why we have to keep going back to daddy. And second of all, not to be insensitive, but can we not use that word? Look, you're talking about Epstein, the Epstein files. Can we not, in this context, use daddy anywhere? Please. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Then you have Greg Kelly, who's a Newsmax host, saying, I trust Trump. I'm going to take Trump's word. Why? Because he knew Epstein. So I think he knows best. Y'all are so bad at this. You're so bad at this. It's insane.
These are podcasters, right? And I like them. I know them. I could do a podcast too. Sometimes it's all great, but it's content, and a little bit of it is show business. I don't know. I'm going to just have to defer to President Trump on this thing. He actually knows Jeffrey Epstein, or knew him. He appointed Pam Bondi. He knows all of the players.
Dude. Dude, you just said the reason you're going to take his word is because he knew the chief predator closely, and all of the players. I just trust his word, because he was all. You know what? The thing I love about Trump is he was always there in the room. He was always there. When this abuse was happening, he was there. When crimes happen, he's there. And it's actually pretty unique how he's in the room for whenever elections are being stolen, he's in the room. And so I think he really has the best when fraud is being engaged in his businesses, he's in the room. And I think that gives him a certain level of objectivity to the whole situation because he's always there when the crimes are happening. He's always present. That's something else. We can't, as all this is happening, forget the policy consequences of what's happening. I do want to emphasize that. Like Jonathan Lemire said, the Trump administration has given the order to incinerate food instead of sending it to people abroad who need it. Nearly 500 metric tons of emergency food, enough to feed about 1.5 million children for a week, are set to expire. So because Doge wanted to make such a show of dismantling USAID, they ended up pushing out staff and the people who could handle the logistics of getting that food to people before they had used up all the food. And so now it's set to expire and they're going to incinerate food that could literally feed millions of starving children. There is a counter, a clock, or a tracker that we've reviewed on the show of how many people are estimated to have died. And then you can also look at how many people are expected to die over the next decade based on different analyses because of the dismantling of USAID. So that needs to be a part of our daily discussions as well, as does the broader impact that we're waiting to hit of Trump's bill that he just got through. And I think that sometimes I've been going, how could they do this? Even just politically, aside from the policy, the humanity. And it's not that, I've said it before, you can't be really wealthy and have the correct positions. Plenty of really wealthy people still have the correct positions on policy and they get, hey, I'm super wealthy, that's awesome, but I want to facilitate a society that allows for everyone else to prosper more. But there is something to be said about how, as Trump in the Epstein story is being seen by his base to represent maybe the elites or the elite interest as opposed to fighting them like he promised, that fake populism. I want them to come to that conclusion. So if they come to it regarding the Epstein story, great. But they should have come to that conclusion a long time ago. That this whole idea that MAGA is against the elites is a total bait and switch. Trump promises them that and gives them the most pro-elite policy you could see with his bill that took away from the poor to give to the rich. And it's total effect. And that shouldn't surprise either. There was a New York or a New Republic piece that was titled How the Billionaires Took Over. Yes, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, but the far bigger menace is the monstrous growth and wealth concentration over 5 decades that made a Trump presidency possible and maybe inevitable. Here's how we let it happen. It goes through a lot of different things, but just one part of this is looking at the combined wealth of Trump's cabinet. If you include Elon, it's $440 billion is the combined net worth of Trump's cabinet. To give you perspective, Biden's cabinet, $118 million. $440 billion, $118 million. That's right, folks. I don't got money down Scrant like that. We don't even talk. We didn't know what billion meant, so it's 35. And $440 billion. But if you take Elon out, you still have $14 billion. Isn't it weird to think like Howard Lutnick is a billionaire? Howard Lutnick. Like this guy right here. It's just, what happened? What happened to America? Billionaires are supposed to be cool. This is a billionaire.
If you make it here.
Yeah, you can make it here. So it shouldn't surprise us that if you staff your administration with the elites, with the oligarchy, no wonder they're going to pass or oversee the passage and implementation of something that takes from the poor to give to the rich. And I hope MAGA doesn't just have the Epstein realization that they're uncomfortable with the fact that Epstein represented the crimes of elites, but also more systemically, economically at least, the utter betrayal of Trump and his promise to be against the powerful and for the working class, the average American, and how he's doing quite the opposite.